Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Lisa Langell, and I have been your very honored judge for the 2026 Salt River Truth Photography Calendar Competition. And I'm excited to talk about the finalists and the Best in Show winner today. But I want to quickly introduce myself so you know a little bit about my background. I have been a photographer since the time I was a kid, and mostly wildlife, although I do actually a lot of equine photography, Wild West photography, as well as wildlife. And I have been a professional photographer since 2015, so 10 years, full-time, and then part-time since 2010. So together, I have 10 years full-time, 5 years part-time experience. I've judged competitions all over the country. I have been a competitor myself. I teach a lot of photography workshops in the field, online. I do photo editing classes. I really try to take a lot of my experience and use it to help judge competitions like this and then provide feedback. So today I'm going to be talking about the winners. And I'm going to be talking about why I chose those winners. I'm super excited. So let me share my screen and let's get started. All right. So I'm going to pick the very, excuse me, I'm going to pick the very first picture here. And I want to talk about this image. This image is by Fred Allen, and I'm going in no particular order in this case. This image is by Fred Allen. And Fred, I adored this image of your foal here. It's so darling. And composition wise, composition is a funny thing. People will say, oh, it should be in the rule of thirds or move the horse over or this or that. Sometimes, yes. And sometimes no. And that's always the beauty of the art of photography is you know the rules and then you can choose when to break them. And I think this is the perfect opportunity to break them. In a horizontal crop, usually I would put the image in the left or right third. And in this case, I feel like you made the perfect choice of spot on in the center. Here's a few reasons why. One, it just brings you right to this full. Two, the background is so soft and pretty and it supports the image. Three, the lighting is beautiful. The slight head tilt also really helps just make this an image where the horse is just standing there. It's like it's got a little bit of curiosity to it by just slightly tipping that head. You've got catch lights in both eyes. I love that for your composition. You've blurred the background out beautifully. You just barely see that fence. And I love that. I think that fence actually falls in the rule of thirds or pretty close to it. And it sort of frames up this full. I love everything about this image. You've got it sharp. You've got the exposure spot on. The background's beautiful. Way to kick off this video. It's a beautiful shot and I adore it. Congratulations for being one of our finalists. Okay, and Fred Allen here is another beautiful image of this horse. And this horse is facing away, but I love that the head is turned back towards you. That allows me to connect with the eye. I love that it's doing something interesting as opposed to just standing there in the water. You've got the hoof up. You have the beautiful horse kind of tilting his head in this curve. So you've got this wonderful little oval that I can follow from the twisted tail all the way back around the head, the hoof. It just keeps me in this image as opposed to a horse just standing there in the water. I love the little water drops. I love that there's some grasses that he's kicked up. The forelock is just kind of long and pretty. The whole thing just really works. Your exposure's done well. And on a sunny, bright day, that is very hard to do because they're reflective, they're wet, and your highlights are still nicely done, not overexposed. I think it's beautiful. Well done on this image. All right, we have Freddie Magnona, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I apologize if I am not, but this is such a pretty and moody image. I love low-key style images. I love the way you captured this combination of the horse heads here. I mean, this is beautiful. This alone could be a lovely portrait, right? This little area here. But you have the whole horse, you have the horse's tail flicking, you have processed this so the background is black. And it was probably fairly dark to begin with, but I do enjoy that process. And I just overall think this is a really nice image. I love the reflection in the water. Very well done. Congratulations. And Freddie, you have two images that made it to the finals. And I love this full. I first of all, love that you got down low and you took this image at eye level with the horse. So often people don't do that. And horses are tricky to photograph and get their perspective correct, especially if you're using anything wider than like a 100 millimeter lens. They really can start to look awkward unless you're going for that kind of look of the wide angle, very disproportionate look, which, does have a place. But I love that you shot it this way. I love that the horses in the back are there, but that they are, kind of a little bit softer from your depth of field. Your background is clean. And again, I love that, this is all in focus and you're right down at eye level. Beautiful shot. Congratulations. All right, this was a fun one for me. I love low-key styled images, and they're tricky to capture. Jill, you did a very nice job. You have three horses. They're distinct, even though they're a little bit merged here. They're still distinct. I can tell there's three horses here. I love the backlighting. I love your choice of processing. I love that the legs are separate here. That's so important. This one here, they're not, they're a little more merging, but I still get it. I know that there's three horses there. It doesn't bother me so much, but having the separation here was really crucial to pulling off this image. So very nicely done, very nicely processed. Congratulations. All right. I love this as well, Jill. Totally different kind of image, but I love that it is the Salt River horses in the Salt River. So pretty. And I love your layers here from the fall foliage in the back just starting to turn yellow. I love that. I love the layer in the middle with the horses all drinking. And then I love the rocks in the foreground. And I love that these rocks kind of pull up some of the colors that are in the horses as well. So it's a nice kind of blend of colors here. It's properly focused. I think it's one of those classic scenes where you do see the herd of horses, and I personally love it. I really enjoyed this image. Congratulations. Well done. All right, Kim Kubek. Beautiful shot. Again, we have threes, which is such a nice compositional number to use. Three horses. This image is in such pretty harmony. I love that they're all feeding and drinking. And I love that this white horse, technically gray, happened to be in the front. It just catches my eye first that way, and it really sets off the image of the three. I don't think I would have enjoyed it as much as if it would have been in the back. Having it in the front or perhaps the middle is definitely the right position. Not that you had anything to do with the position, but it was just one of those things that when photographers go out there to capture something, you love when luck is on your side. And in this case, it was, in addition to a nice composition, nice bright lighting, nice exposure, and I loved your depth of field as well. So all of the horses were reasonably sharp, but your background was nicely blurred out. The reflections in the water, all of it looks really nice. Congratulations. Well done. And Kim, another wild horse treat. So we have them in the Salt River. Excellent. You have the salt brushes here. You have the horses. You have four in this case. The composition is fine by me. I do love the fact that they're splashing and playing and eating. They all have the eelgrass in their mouth. That's great. Having gesture and something that the horses are doing as opposed to four of them just standing in the water always adds, that gesture always adds to an image. And I really like the way you have the reflections here and the way everything is done. The exposure is nice. The processing is nice. Congratulations. Good job. All right, Michael Sellender. And again, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. This was so pretty. It took me immediately when I saw all these pictures as thumbnail. It took my attention immediately. And that's one of the beautiful things when I talk about what judges look for. Impact is one of them. So we often will look through a sea of images in order to pick out the finalists. And impact is one of those things that if it doesn't have impact, it rarely gets a second look. It might, but when you have thousands of images, and I've judged some very large photography competitions in the past, and you're sent thousands of images, you can't possibly look at each one for, 20 seconds and decide if it has the focus or not or whatever. Impact is the thing that grabs you first. And then you start looking at the other things. And so I loved this image for the impact. And you were also lucky. You have this gray horse in the front with a dark horse in the back. And in this case, That was important because if they were both a darker color, they probably would have merged together visually and it would just not have the same effect. Having this light gray horse here, beautiful. I love the beautiful light beams that are coming through. The dust really helps because it helps illuminate those hooves and it makes the horse feel complete. If you didn't have that dust here, those hooves would kind of blend in with this ground and it really wouldn't have the same impact or feel. I really liked this image. Well done and congratulations. Steve Johnson, this is a beautiful image. I think we always, when we photograph the wild horses, look for that moment where the stallions are fighting with one another. I know we tend to pick the right times of year where that's more likely to happen. And it's always such a great moment when you get something good. And you did. You got a great image of these two stallions going at it. I loved the gesture here with the action, the hooves, the kicking, this neck pulled up over the top. I mean, it's just beautiful. Your exposure is beautiful. You can tell these stallions have been at it a few times with a few boys on the block. I mean, look at the scars here, and this beautiful roan has, bites, marks, and all kinds of things. I love the little bit of rim light that you have in both of the horses. It really adds something special. The flowers here, the simple brush in the background. It's really gorgeous. I love everything about it. And, some people may say, well, the shutter speed, the hooves aren't tack sharp. It's all sharp where I need it. This implies some motion to me, and I really like that. I like this down here with the dust. I can just feel the motion happening. Beautiful job. I love this shot. Congratulations with being one of the finalists. And Steve, you did it once, but not twice. This is a phenomenal image. I love this Rasta hair here, where it's all kind of topsy-turvy and spiked out everywhere. The forelock is going everywhere. It sort of matches the chaos that's in the water splashes. So if this horse is galloping or whatever it happens to be doing in the water, you've captured it all. And white water is difficult to capture on a sunny day. It can blow out. And it did a little bit here, but the rest of it looks just fine. It doesn't distract me from the picture. The horse really grabs my attention. I love it. I love the subdued background. The whole thing has a lot of energy and fun to it, and it truly depicts salt river horses. You've got them in the water doing their thing. This is a great shot. I love it. The lighting is pretty. The eyes are in focus. The catch light here is perfect. Beautiful job. Nicely done. All right, and let me see if there are any others that I have missed. So we've went through, actually, here is one I that missed. Okay, so we have Deborah here, and Deborah, you have this beautiful trio of horses. Again, wonderful rule of thirds. I love it. I love that they're standing in the Mexican poppies. That is such a classic Arizona Valley thing. And I love that the horses were there. And I'm sure the day you were photographing this, you were equally excited to see the horses standing in the poppies and lupine. Beautiful job. I love that this one is feeding. The other two are kind of looking at you. This one looks annoyed. That's okay. It's beautiful. It is so, I guess it brings a lot of joy seeing this image with the yellow colors and the horses. I really love the way you did it. Nice job. All right. I do think now I have completed every single image here that is in our finalist category. And so now I want to talk a little bit about the Best in Show. So, what do I look for in Best in Show? I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a minute and just talk to you about this. So, for me, Best in Show is an image that really stands out among the rest, obviously. But I look for composition. I look for uniqueness. I look for processing. Some people, and I'm going to talk about that for a second. Some people are out there, they believe that images don't need to be post-processed or it's bad if they need it. Now, yes, sometimes, there's an image that just doesn't have many of the characteristics that you need of a good image. And yeah, post-processing, you're trying to make a silk purse out of a sow's ear, so to speak. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about images that have good quality overall, but the artist can play up or play down certain aspects to get your eye to move to certain places throughout the image, to follow a path, to stay within the image. Also, pull down certain details that maybe don't need to be as obvious so that you can pull up other details that are more important. All of those subtle characteristics that can be done in post-processing, starting with a good image overall. And so I look for that. I look for all of it. Also, with the judging as a whole, not just for Best in Show, things that I've looked for are things like following the rules that were provided. So there were sizing and resolution rules that were provided. And there were some other beautiful images in this competition, but they weren't horizontal. They weren't sized to the size specifications requested by the judges. And they just, missed kind of the basic criteria. And in a couple of cases, we made some slight, uh, what do I say, a little bit of wiggle room on those images because, maybe we could crop them slightly to better match the aspect ratio for the calendar, which is an 8.5 by 11 size image at 300 pixels per inch. We received a variety of entries that didn't at all match that. And I'm guessing that in some cases, people might not know how to resize those images. So if the image quality was there, despite the size they were sent in, if we could resize it and maybe crop slightly or make some slight modifications one way or another and make it work, if it was a really beautiful image, we took that liberty and did that. So a few images weren't sent as the proper size, but they otherwise were outstanding images. And so we made some kind of bends to those rules. This is also the first year of this calendar competition, and we wanted people, maybe have an opportunity to learn in the future. But if it was like a portrait or square crop or something that we couldn't modify slightly, I unfortunately had to eliminate those from my final judging. So next year, if anybody enters, please make sure that you adhere to the rules closely because I have a feeling the competition will be even bigger, even better, and we will more closely look at those rules, whether it's myself or some other judge in this competition. All right, so I looked for things like the composition of the image, the gesture, the lighting, the drama, the way it was done, all of those things, depth of field, focus, exposure, all those things went into this, uniqueness. And of all of those images, I am ready to go and share with you the finalist, the best in show. And that award goes to Steve Johnson with this image here. I just love the gesture. It was so unique. It's compelling. It keeps me in this image. I keep wanting to go around and around and around. The flow in this image is beautiful. The drama, you really can feel it. The lighting brings me in. Everything about it is lovely. Congratulations, Steve. You are our Best in Show winner. I'm so excited for you, but I'm excited for all of the finalists. You will all be a part of the calendar. And again, thank you for submitting. I appreciate it. It was my honor and pleasure to be a part of this. I really do appreciate it. If you are interested in the future and checking out some of the things that I do or have to offer, you can go to langellphotography.com. I have photography workshops, tours, and education. And what I would recommend, because I'm going to be doing some things with online classes, live interactive things, we are going to have a private community where we can do photography related conversations, posts, Q&A, all kinds of things, webinars, a lot of different things coming up in the near future. I highly recommend to go and click on Join the Click. And then you can sign up. It is free. You don't have to do anything. I'm not going to spam you. I will occasionally send you an email update with some progress on some of the things that we're offering. And also, it is your best way if you're interested in a class or workshop in the future to actually get in because I send our announcements to our VIPs first, and you'd be one of them. And then you can make the decision to join. Most often, I don't get to the point where I announce to the public because my classes and workshops sell out rather quickly. But anyhow, feel free and join that. It's been a pleasure to talk with all of you, at least through this video. I hope to see you in person. And again, congratulations to all of the people who have entered. I sincerely appreciate your efforts, your talents, in sharing the wild horses with me and the rest of the world. Congratulations. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I wish you success in future endeavors. and maybe I'll see you on the trail. Take good care.